The Porsche 911 Carrera GTS. This is known as a sweet spot in the 992 lineup. What the heck is a sweet spot? Well, I like to think of it as a way to accomplish more by doing less. And honestly, that's the perfect way to describe the new 911 GTS. My name is Omar and welcome to the sweetest spot of them all, where you get more 911 for less. Well, less depending on how you look at it and what a car is worth to you, and if you're shopping in the I have 911 kind of money category. Now, I'm sure all other videos on the 911 GTS have the word sweet spot in them, so I promised myself not to use it in my thumbnail or my title, so if you see it up there, call me out in the comments. But honestly, there is no better way to describe this. If you took the entire 911 lineup and put them in order, the GTS would sit right in the middle. While the entry-level 911s, if you can call them that, tend to be great grand tours, they're kind of missing that edge that makes you want to drive them like you stole it. And then you have the GT3, the GT3 RS, and the turbos. The GT3s aren't comfortable 911s that you can live with every single day, and the turbos, they get too expensive and sometimes they're too powerful. Yes, there is such a thing, but that's where the GTS comes in. It isn't the most comfortable daily driver, but it's much better than the GT3. If you're just driving this around in normal mode, you can go for a nice cruise and it's pretty tolerable. However, when it comes to performance, you just turn this dial on the steering wheel to Sport Plus, you downshift, and this thing takes off. 0 to 60 for the 911 GTS comes in at 3.2 seconds if you get it with the PDK transmission, which is actually the same as the 911 GT3. And pricing wise, if you can afford to be shopping in this category of vehicles, it won't wake you up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. This is the perfect balance of all good things about the 911. So, is this the 911 that you've been waiting for? Is this the one to buy? Let's find out. Let me give you a quick tour of the new 911 Carrera GTS, and then we'll get back out on the road and I'll tell you whether or not if you should spend your hard-earned money on this. Hit that like button if you like 911s. All right, let's go do this. So, there is no doubt that the 911 has a bunch of different variants, from the S's to the non-S's, from the 4s to the non-4s, from the coupe to the cabriolet to the Targa. I can't think of a single car with this many different versions. And when there are these many variants, there is one what we in the automotive world like to call the sweet spot, and that's where the 911 Carrera GTS comes in. It's right in the middle where the Carrera S just isn't enough for you, but the GT3s and the turbos are a bit out of reach. So the GTS starts at $142,600, which is about a 20 grand jump over the 911 Carrera S and around 27 grand less than the GT3. And then that spot gets even sweeter with the running gear, which is actually in the back. You have a 3-liter twin-turbo 6-cylinder making a total of 473 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. Now, that's 30 horsepower more than the Carrera S and 29 horsepower less than the GT3. These birds won't shut up. Now, you can get it with a PDK automatic or a 7-speed manual transmission like my test model here, and no matter which one you go for, there is no added cost there at all. You also have the choice of rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Of course, the all-wheel drive is more expensive. The PDK is obviously quicker, doing 60 in 3.2 seconds for the rear-wheel drive model that I'm testing here, while the manual rear-wheel drive will do 60 in 3.9 seconds. That said, Porsche did more than just add some extra power. There have been upgrades made all around to make this a little bit more fun to drive than the lower trims of the 911. You have a GTS-specific tuned suspension that's been lowered by 10 millimeters with the Porsche Active Suspension Management System, or PASM. The brakes are taken right out of the 911 Turbo, so the stopping power in this thing is really impressive. As for the center lock wheels here, they are taken right from the 911 Turbo S with 20-inch wheels in the front and 21-inch wheels in the back, and in my opinion, they look super cool. And of course, you have a sport exhaust system, so let's take a listen to how it sounds. That said, the other performance upgrades will cost you extra. For example, my test model is equipped with the rear axle steering for an extra $2,090, and that will allow the GTS to have a tighter turning radius and provide some extra stability at high speeds. The model I'm testing here also has the front axle lift system for an extra $2,770, and that will help you from scratching the bottom of your 911 GTS. When you're approaching an area where you need some more clearance, you just hit this button right here and the front will lift up by 1.5 inches to increase ground clearance. Now the cool thing is that you can do this while driving up to 31 miles an hour, and you can also save specific locations in the GPS or frequently traveled roads where the front will lift automatically. Now, no matter which color you go for, the theme to the 911 GTS is black, so I would recommend not getting it in black. You have a bunch of blacked out details here, including the black wheels, all the lettering including the GTS logo on the side, and the 911 Carrera GTS badge on the back is blacked out as well. The headlight housings are also darkened out, and keep in mind all 911 GTS models get LED headlamps as standard. And if you look back here, the rear taillights have also been darkened out with blacked out Porsche lettering. And it's not just the darker look that sets the 911 GTS apart. It also comes with a sport design package as standard, so it looks a little bit meaner from the front. This is definitely one of my favorite looks for the new 911, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the most beautiful 911 generations overall, for sure. Let me know what you think about the looks in the comments below. Alright, now let's hop inside and check out the interior of the 911 GTS, and just like every other Porsche, this is simply an outstanding place to be. But specifically for the 911, this is the perfect balance of comfort, luxury, and sport. Everything is focused around the driver, and you still have the elegance that this price tag demands. Interesting note here, just like the suspension, the shifter on the 911 GTS has been shortened by 10 millimeters. Now, the 911 GTS comes with a 2+2 seating configuration, even though nobody will be sitting in the back. But if you're somebody that wants to save some weight, you can delete those rear seats as a part of the lightweight package for an extra $8,690. That package will also take away some extra insulation. It'll throw on some lightweight glass for the side and rear windows. The seats will be swapped out for carbon fiber bucket seats, and you'll get a lighter battery. My test model doesn't have that package. In fact, it gets a little bit more premium with this red leather interior that costs an extra $4,960. And I gotta say, it looks really nice. Heated seats are standard on the 911 GTS, but my test model also has ventilated seats for an extra $840. But yeah, that said, these seats will hug you really nice and tight when you want to push this thing to its limits. My test model also has a premium package for $3,760, which will throw on a 12-speaker Bose sound system. It'll also throw on some ambient lighting, lane change assist, power folding side view mirrors, and a surround view camera system. With that, let's hop into the tech really quick. I love the new Porsche infotainment system that debuted with the new Taycan. It's a very simple system to get around and navigate. You won't find yourself lost in any deep menus. Everything is really straightforward. The 911 GTS gets all the usual suspects as standard, including wireless Apple CarPlay, although Android Auto is a wired connection. You also have navigation in here. But yeah, overall, this is pretty straightforward and very simple. Oh, and the 911 GTS also gets the Porsche Track Precision app as standard if you want to record your track performance. That said, in terms of the gauge cluster, it's not all digital, and I think that's a good thing. I think here it makes sense for the 911 GTS to have a more analog sports car feel rather than throwing on a full digital screen like you have on the Taycan. Nonetheless, it is still pretty customizable and very informative. Last but not least, the 911 GTS gets the GT Sport steering wheel, and it's super nice to hold. It's wrapped in a suede Alcantara-like material. Alright, so before I give you my final opinion on how it is to drive the 911 GTS and whether or not if you should buy one, let me point out a few important daily ownership highlights that I'd love to show all of you you have. Just 2 cup holders. One in the middle right there that is detachable, and you can replace it with a storage area if you want. And then there's one on the passenger side right over there. Here are the keys. Again, I just love Porsche keys. You have lock, unlock, and a front release button that you don't really need because you can just swipe your hand in front of the Porsche logo and it pops open the front, and you have 4.6 cubic feet. I have some of my filming gear in there. It's a pretty good amount of space. Charging game wise, you have 2 USB-C ports right there, and you can get a wireless charger, which I'm guessing would be right there. Door close sound from the outside. And from the inside, solid. And let's do an indicator and horn sound test. Indicator first. Don't know if you can hear it. It's pretty simple. Now for the horn sound. Oh, that is loud. Just 2, because I'm in a park. That's loud. By the way, if you're going to get a 911 Carrera GTS, I know the PDK is faster with its whole 20-second sport response thing, and it has launch control, but the 7-speed manual, I believe this is the perfect way to experience this combination of performance. Now, I've heard this thing being called the baby or the more affordable GT3, and that can be true. The biggest difference, though, between the GT3 and this is that the GT3 is naturally aspirated, while this has 2 turbos. However, this has more torque and you don't really feel any turbo lag at all, which is why the 0 to 60 times are very similar. Not to mention, this thing sounds amazing. Maybe not as good as a GT3, but you're not going to be disappointed at all. I do hate the fact that when you're at a standstill trying to rev it, you have a soft limiter, but when you're driving it, you're not going to be disappointed at all. It's a beautiful sound. So, how is this as a daily driver? Well, again, it's not the most comfortable 911 that you can buy. If comfort is what you're looking for, then look somewhere else. But if it's that precise performance that you're looking from Porsche, this is a great option. Also, Porsche has gotten rid of some of the insulation in here, so you hear more of the engine sound, you hear more of the outside world, so you don't want to take any calls while you're driving this, and you probably shouldn't. You should be focused on really driving this thing. I love this car. Now, in terms of the overall driving experience, you do feel that this is significantly more hardcore than the 911 Carrera S. It's sharper, it grips harder. It feels like this thing has a goal that it's always trying to achieve. It just keeps going. God, it's so good. Sorry, my stuff is sliding around in here. But this thing is outstanding. And that's what I love about cars like the 911 GTS. It's not just one or two things that you can enjoy about them. It's the overall experience. It's the luxury, the daily drivability, the performance, and the fun you have while you're driving it. And this checks all of those boxes. The daily drivability part may be a little debatable, but if you drive this like a normal human being in normal mode, you'll be just fine. You know, I remember the outgoing 911 GTS. It didn't seem like it had a purpose at all. However, the way this one moves and keeps pushing you to drive it like it's meant to be driven, it's like it's eager to grab your attention away from the other 911s. See, sometimes too much power or too much aggressiveness in a sports car isn't a good thing. Sometimes it's the balancing of everything that makes it perfect. Those are the cars that make you a better driver. Those are the cars that achieve more by doing less. And of course, costing less, so that's a big plus. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace. I'm definitely gonna miss downshifting this thing and hearing that sound. Such a good sound.